Hi, I'm Andy Stevens and this is the home building and renovating guide to buying a chop saw. So this chop saw, also you can call it a mitre saw, I've heard. This mainly is for cutting wood. Depending on the blade, you can cut other materials, but pretty much most of the time you can use it to cut bits of wood. The downside to it is expensive. But if you're cutting lots of timber from carcassing, so 4x2, 6x2, 8x2s, all the way through to skirtings and architraves and profile beading, this is what you want. It is brilliant. It is so much quicker than doing it with a circular saw, which is one with your hand or even a hand saw. I think the best thing on this for me is you can choose the angle you cut at. So if you've not got an exact 90 for your skirting boards, you can find the angle with an angle finder or other way, and you've got your settings here for basically 1 degree up to your 90. You can also do it on a mitre, so if you're scribing in skirting boards again, or if you want to cut a architrave or any bit of timber at an angle, it's not just moving it around, you can also cut it at different degrees that way. It's a really flexible bit of kit. It does cost a bit, but quite honestly, I couldn't do without it. The downside to this is it weighs a ton. If anyone ever invents a chop saw that doesn't weigh a ton, then happy days. However, it's not just being quite heavy, it's awkward to carry. You can see it's not an easy shape. So this isn't something you're going to lug around from room to room on a job cutting skirting boards. You'll set your station up first thing in the morning, 7:30, 7:45, and that is where you cut from. So bear this in mind. If you're working in a loft, on a loft conversion for example, you could have to run up and down the stairs all the time. So bear that in mind. If you set this up in the loft, you want obviously all your timbers or skirtings or profile beads up there as well. So the main thing you wouldn't use this for, you wouldn't be using it to cut bricks, blocks, that sort of thing. That's a separate tool completely. This is mainly for timber and plastics and steels, again, depending on the blade. One thing you're limited with is the depth of cut. Even with this on it, which gives it quite a decent cut, you're not going to be cutting sheets of ply or MDF or OSB or chipboard. Your longer rips, you're going to need a circular saw. So this is limited to your carcassing, 4x2, 6x2s, skirting boards, architraves and beading. As I say, this is a brilliant bit of kit, but it is limited in the depth of cut, so bear that in mind, obviously before you buy one. This is about 12 years old, give or take. What I didn't look out for, because it wasn't really around, is the cordless model, the battery ones. If someone said that 10 years ago, you'd laugh. Nowadays, especially this brand, DeWalt, I've got a 54 volt, there's Makita and all sorts of the other brands. This is just as good cordless. It's bizarre a battery can produce that amount of power to cut through such large lumps of timber and other materials. The big thing to look out for is change of blade. Is it easy and quick? This is a bit of a pain, to be honest with you. You've got to stop it spinning, there's a button to hold it from moving, and then you've got to manually twist it. The problem with this one, it's self-tightening. The more you use it without changing the blade, the tighter the blade gets. So it can be a nightmare to change. More modern ones are a lot easier, but bear that in mind when you're getting one. But the main thing for me, if you can, go cordless. They are a lot more expensive, but with the power the batteries have got, it's so much easier than lugging this around with extension leads, which I still do. Brand-wise, you do see a lot of DeWalt, Makita, the Festool and Mafra ones are beautiful bits of machinery, but you've got to be earning a few quid. They are expensive. So unless you're using it all day, every day, you don't need to go that high. These are mid-range, as I say, the DeWalt's, Makitas, Milwaukee, Bosch, they're all absolutely fine. So the big thing with this is you're only as good as the blade. The cheaper models have got similar power. There's no denying that. Certainly with cordless, you need more mid-range for the battery. But if you've got a decent blade and you're only using it occasionally, by all means get a cheaper model. As long as you've got the output, which most of them have, get a decent blade, spend your money on the blade, you will get away with using a cheaper brand. Accessory wise, as I said before, blades are important. Spend an extra bit of money on blades. They will last longer and give you a lot better cut. The other thing, there is somewhere on this an extraction point for the dust. So bear in mind that modern ones these days have all got it to extract the dust into an extraction unit. This one is a little bit old and knackered, to be honest. It does need a bit of a service, but I think the main things to look out for accessory wise are the blades, extraction points, and also sort of flexibility of what you can and can't do with it. You can actually buy proper horses for it to sit on, a sort of unit, and also you get extensions to hold your long lengths of timber that you cut. Again, depending on the brand, you can get them to fit perfectly. Listen, you can make your own. A couple of wooden sawhorses with a bit of sheet material, apply OSB on top is what a lot of us use. But if you've got the money and you are using this a lot, get the proper kit for it to sit on with the extension of the arms, so long lengths of timber when you cut don't fall off, because it's a pain and it can play havoc with your cuts. Maintenance wise, this hasn't been maintained and it's poor. It's poor on my behalf, I'll admit that. You can see it's coated in sawdust. The other thing is as well, it needs calibrating. And what I mean by that is, at the moment, this is cutting about 1.5 degrees, a degree and 3/4 out. Now that doesn't sound a lot, but when you're trying to get perfect joins and cuts, you notice it. That is because I've not serviced this. The problem with servicing is you lose it for a week or so. You've got to drive it somewhere, but always try and fit it into your diary if you're away on holiday or something. Keep this serviced and calibrated, because I'm learning the hard way. The dust extraction is blocked, and as I say, it's a couple of degrees out on the cut. Servicing, depending on how much you use it, if you're using it all day, every day, about every 2 or 3 years. But if you're using it a lot less frequently, sort of every 4 or 5 years. But I've learnt the hard way. To be honest, I don't know if a service can save this. So do keep it calibrated and serviced, and you'll get it. You'll get decades out of it, no doubt about it. So there we are, a comprehensive guide to buying a chop saw. For more advice on tools, materials, techniques and products for building, please visit homebuilding.co.uk.